Welcome to Boundless Plains to Share. In our next interview, Graham Phillipson speaks with Dr. Andre Teixeira, Chief R&D and Quality Officer at international food giant Goodman Fielder. Dr. Teixeira has overseen food production and science business in more than 60 countries, speaks 10 languages fluently, has previously worked for Coca-Cola and Campbell's Soup, as well as launching businesses in China and Russia. He's a much sought-after speaker on the innovation circuit. This interview focuses on Australia's prospects, opportunities and challenges in export on the global scene, particularly in Asia, with emphasis on China.
Andre, there's been a lot of talk over the last few years about Australia becoming the food bowl of Asia. Is that a reasonable proposition?
No, I don't think it's a good proposition at all, because first of all, we do not have in Australia enough arable land to even dream of that. This being the world's largest desertic continent, and the amount of arable land when you compare to other big landmass countries. Secondly, I think that it's not a dream that a country with the technology prowess of Australia, a dream that is high enough. I think we need to dream higher by looking at value adding to what we export from Australia, rather than just being a commodity exporter.
So you're talking essentially about quality rather than quantity?
Talking about quality, talking about exporting the quality of the skills of the country, the knowledge that we export when we export value-added materials, manufacturing goods and so on.
Now, Goodman Fielder is one of Australia's largest food processors. That part of the manufacturing industry is very significant. Are you talking about adding value at every stage of that process?
Yes, I mean, when we think about food, we have to think about the farmland, we have to think about the logistics, the distribution, the transformation of food, all the way to the dining table. The objective of food science and technology has always been to make more food available to more people for a longer period of time at a lower cost. It's far more effective to become an export of orange concentrates or orange bases. Instead of exporting raw milk, exporting the base for making other kind of dairy products or milk protein concentrates, whatever you can do with that, deriving a lot of opportunities from the knowledge that exists in this country in terms of food science and technology.
How does Australia rate on an international standard when it comes to R&D in agriculture and food processing generally?
Oh, it goes without saying that Australia is in the forefront of that. I mean, I remember as a young student, graduate student in the UK many years ago, food science and technology folks would dream of coming to Australia, not only because of every kid would dream of coming to Australia, which is still the case, but because here we knew that there were a significant amount of projects going on, either government sponsored or some of the local industry, with the plentiful supply of raw materials for the food industry, coupled with high quality research centers that were in the forefront and are still in the forefront of technology in this area worldwide.
How do we leverage that? How do we take advantage of that uniqueness?
Well, I think that once again, it's a question of investing more on the export of countries, not just through its products, but the export of what I like to call the soft power of countries. Australia is a country that has a huge soft power. The world has changed significantly. Who would have said 200 years ago that a powerful nation would have no army? And there is Japan, there's Germany, a powerful nation without a navy. And the soft power is the name of the game. And Australia's soft power is probably one of the most significant potential products for this country, and unfortunately not exported well enough.
The commercial sector, obviously, your own company, Goodman Fielder, is preeminent in this. Can you give us any other examples?
Well, we do have a number of companies. Simplot is a good example of a lot of research that is conducted here in Australia. We would like to see more companies, either Australian companies or companies with big operations in Australia, to continue to invest on R&D in this part of the world, invest in quality in this part of the world, in new quality systems, but above all, R&D, food science and technology, because the opportunities that will exist not only in Australia, but Australia is a kind of a multicultural laboratory for the rest of the world, are fantastic opportunities.
And what sorts of things are Simplot doing?
Well, they are obviously investing in a number of R&D projects that I recently came across, including in new techniques for new varieties of some of their raw materials, their vegetables that they use, techniques on preservation, a significant number of projects on the chilled products that they do, which offer new opportunities for consumers to access ready meals in a different way, and a umpteen number of projects.
So we're talking about Australia exporting value-added product. How can we best do that? How can we get that message out to people?
Yeah, first of all, let me congratulate you for the initiative on Boundless Plains to share the book. Is an absolutely fascinating idea, and very much worthwhile, because it does call the attention. There are initiatives like this that we need to have more and more in order to propagate, disseminate the idea that Australia can go a lot further than just being a commodity exporter, without denying its very vocation as a fantastic agricultural nation.
What's the one thing that you think Australia should be doing that it isn't doing to promote its agricultural provenance?
I think the investment in R&D should be an integrated investment. One thing that I have not seen, maybe out of my own ignorance, but one of the things I haven't seen here is that integrated approach to investment. In other words, investing in R&D in different silos, excuse the pun, in agriculture and food industry, food distribution, logistics, biosecurity, waste, etc., sometimes could be optimized if there was an overall, an overarching investment policy from the farm to the dining table.
The paradox of food technology.
Absolutely.
That's a very good point to lead this conversation. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Teixeira.
You're most welcome.